Welcome back, welcome back. This is Pastor Paul, Living Word AGC Donholm. We are back to our conversation and podcast, Living as a True Worshipper. And today I'm delighted to have part of our youth with me. And we are going to continue our conversations around the topic of living as a true worshipper. And for today, we want to zoom in and focus particularly on the youth. And together with me, allow me to introduce each and every one of them. On my left, I am with...
My name is Stacy. I'm currently serving as the youth leader here at Living Word AGC. It's a pleasure to have all of you for this discussion.
Thank you, Stacy. And Stacy will be taking us through the conversation today. And on my right, I have...
My name is Phil. I am currently the part of the worship team leadership, and I'm so honored to be part of this discussion. Looking forward.
Thank you, Phil. Last but not least, I also have...
My name is Betty, part of the worship team and also part of the youth in AGC Donholm.
Thank you. And so, don't worry why we're focusing on people who are maybe on the worship team for a start, because we would want to understand worship, living as a worshiper. What really motivates and attracts young people to church in regards or in terms of living as a true worshiper? And just about now, allow me to invite Stacy, who will take us through the conversation for today. Karibu sana. Take it over.
Thank you so much. And once more, welcome to this discussion. So allow me to just start with a very general question, a question that cuts across, not just to the youths, but also to the entire church when it comes to worship. And so we find instances where we worship God, for instance, in a church setup, and we really feel like the worship is really moving. People are lifting up their hands, others are crying, others are kneeling down. But then how are we able to differentiate, or otherwise the difference between being spiritual and being emotional when it comes to worship? Because there's really a difference when it comes to that. So allow me to just ask Phil to maybe respond to that question and tell us if there's really a difference between being spiritual and being emotional.
Thank you, Stacy. Yeah, so my take on that would be emotions are good. Emotions are part of how we express ourselves during worship. But again, we also have to differentiate that there is a difference between the emotional aspect and the spiritual aspect. So, for example, in our setup, or when we are doing worship in gatherings, either inside the church or outside there, depending on the setup of the stage, the lighting, the equipments we use, the way people are dressed, the energy and the vibe tends to bring some emotions. But now the question now becomes, do we judge the depth of the worship based on the emotions? Or the question is, what's the state of my heart during that time of emotional expression? So I will say the emotional part of it is very important, but God looks more the heart, the state of my heart. I might be crying, but is the heart connected? Yes.
Thank you so much, Phil. And maybe just to go back to that question, Percy. I know you've heard of instances where you're in a church setup and people would judge the worship and say that is a performance and that is not worship. Do you think there is a distinction between a performance and people who truly are worshiping God?
Thank you. allow me to also just go back and clarify. Whenever music will be performed anywhere, whether we would appreciate or not appreciate it, it's a form of performance. Because for the drummer, the keyboardist, the vocals to merge and sound nice, whether we will appreciate it or not, it's a form of performance. But now what changes in a church setup, that is not the main goal. That is not the agenda of why we gathered. It is supposed to be the tool we use to lead us to God. And so in a church setup, unfortunately, at times, the ones leading and the ones doing the music end up being caught up in perfecting the art and not having the state of connecting with God themselves. And as a result, many a times, especially those of us who are connected to God, will feel as if that was more of a performance. Because whenever we wanted to be part of what they are doing, we felt, no, it feels easier to listen than to be part of it. But when you find a team, and allow me to use that word, performing, but their performance is Christ-based, is God-centered, it's led of the Lord. Those are moments where you don't even know the song, but for some reason, you are flowing with the song. The people who are doing the performance, quote unquote, are connected. And that is why you listen to a new song you've never heard of before and it moves your heart. It leads you to think of your heart, your status, your position with God. Unlike, sorry to say this, some of our songs whereby you listen to the song, but it's only a good feel factor. There is no thinking about God, there is no repentance, there is no encouragement to it. It's just a feel-good factor. Sure. And that for me is what I would use to say yes, especially in church setup. We will always be performing in one way. Even when a preacher is preaching, he's performing. But the difference of being a biblical sermon and being an entertainment, for me, will be judged, as Phil said earlier. We will base the judgment based on that person's stand with God, his state of mind and heart with God, and his devotion, especially in the private space with God. It shifts the performance from being a performance to being a genuine worship. Let me finish by saying this. You might have walked in the streets of Nairobi and you have found those people singing at the street. You wouldn't primarily say they are worshiping, would you? Your first thought to them would be, these people are performing. But at times you listen to them perform in the streets and your heart is moved. Why? Because their performance is not man-based, it's God-based.
Thank you so much. I think what I'm getting from what you're saying is connection with God is so important.
Yes.
And intimacy, and that is walking with God. So thank you so much, Percy. And Betty, allow me to ask you this. We characterize worship with singing, playing of instruments. But do you think we can also worship God silently? And is God there, when we are just silent and still? Or do we just have to be singing, use instruments, be amongst people so that you can get an avenue for worship? What do you think?
Okay, thank you, Stacy. Worshipping God silently is actually a very good form of worship. In silence, you get to listen from God, get that reference from God, be intimate with God, and worshipping silently actually draws you closer to God. And when it comes to instruments, instruments are good, but what matters the most is your heart. It's not like instruments should be ruled out. It only makes that worship add soul to the worship. But the heart matters the most. The heart and the message is what we should focus on. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And maybe just to add something on that, Phil, allow me to ask you this, because of course we all are youths here, and how can we teach the young generation to know that stillness can also be worship to God? Because we are in a generation whereby the youth are so hyped, and if they come in through a church that is just silent and probably there is no loud music, they might feel amiss. But how can we be able to connect them, in a setup whereby they'll feel they still worship God even in stillness, maybe here in church?
Thank you, Stacy. That's a very, very important, I think, a question, and also a aspect to look. I think, just like you said, in our generation, we are carried so much by the noise. We are used to the chaos, just like you said, the hype. And so we tend to confuse that and think that when the energy and the vibe, especially for the young people, is at the peak there, that's when we are really worshiping God, and that's really when we have connected with Him. And again, maybe say that's a sign of His presence in our midst. But I think for me, looking at the Bible, I'll say there's a place for both, okay? But I think for the young people, I will tell them, you remember there's a verse where God tells us, be still and know that I am God. Like, it's so hard to be still. And sometimes for me, I think when you are quiet, still, silent, it becomes a problem because it exposes you. Yeah, it brings you to the genuine state. This is you. This is who you are. This is how things are, without the noise and the distraction. So you are able to look at yourself, focus, listen, face whatever you need to face. So I think the young people need to know that even in silence, in fact, it makes more sense and even deeper connection for me when we are worshiping God without any other thing going on around, because the mind is present, is able to internalize and receive that which is happening. The ears are attentive, the spirit. Okay? Yeah, so I will say, and also, before I finish, in the Bible, when you read the Revelation, you see, like for me, I'm an instrumentalist, but there are some portions in the Bible, in the Revelation, you see the 24 elders going down before. We are not told the band is playing or a certain thing is being played or a certain whatever noise is happening, but the sense of in quiet, silent movement, they are kneeling and bowing before the presence of the Lord and leaving their throne and their crowns and everything. I think giving me an essence of privacy, quiet, you and God, the surrender aspect of it without the noise. Yeah.
If maybe I would just add one thing on that. In most of our churches today, when it's time to pray, you'd realize that's when the instruments and everything else goes up to a level that people are drowned in the music and you're not really sure if people are praying. And at times when the music goes down, everyone else goes quiet. And as Phil is saying, how I pray that we would also learn, it's not in the loudness of music or in the loudness of the environment. Those of us who grew up in those vibrant churches where time of prayer, the neighbors would know people are praying and the drums would be, God still speaks in that silence. And I would hopefully encourage young people to realize a church that does not have loud music or play loudly when people are praying doesn't mean they don't worship, doesn't mean they don't have a moment with God. Yeah. And as you correctly put it, even in silence, God speaks.
Yes, Phil.
Just to add, I think when I was growing up in my primary and high school years, there's something that we used to be taught that I later came to learn that it's very hard to do. You've heard of this word, quiet time. Yeah. Having a quiet time with God. Hey, as an adult, it's one of the hardest things to experience or to have and experience the effectiveness that it has. Because again, just like we've been discussing, we are so much used of the noise. So when I want to worship God, I want to put some music. When I want to pray, I want to hear background keys playing. When I want to maybe read the word of God, there are those that are doing it with. But I think for me, sometimes even in the matatu, going home, just closing the eyes and going deeper, maybe take a message and talk to God and converse or reflect on who God is in my life, I feel a very different experience of Him during that moment rather than when a lot of things are happening at the same time. Yeah.
Yes, Betty.
Okay, it's very, very easy for our generation to assume that when the volume is too high, it refers to the spiritual death. We should not confuse with the volume being too high with that the spiritual death is now very okay there. The power in worship depends with the presence of God.
Thank you so much. So encouraging. And Percy, this goes to you. I know you've heard of traditional worship and modern worship.
Yes.
And so in a church setup, it goes without saying that we have all kinds of people, all ages of people. We have the old people and we have the young people. And I'm sure you've heard of instances in churches where we play modern worship and the elder people feel like they're left out. And when you try to go the traditional way again and try to factor them in, the youth and the Gen Zs, they feel like we are not in the right place. And so how do we create a balance when it comes to these two, so that we don't let go of the youth? At the same time, we also ensure that the elderly people in our congregation feel like they are also worshiping God.
Well, this is an ongoing quagmire or dilemma we have in our churches. And unfortunately, some churches have opted to take one extreme end. Some have decided we are only remaining with the hymns and hymns alone. One time I was having a conversation with one of the bishops in this town, and he told me, only the hymns are theologically sound. Well, not necessarily. But at the same time, we equally have this modern, especially ways of music. Let me not say modern way of worship, because it's the modern and the traditional. If you look at it, primarily it's referred to in terms of music and maybe order of service, and getting that balance for me is what really counts. Not compromising on the doctrine. Now, I wouldn't say we will be singing here songs that don't have any theological foundations, but at the same time, not ignoring the differences that we have in genre and style of music and preference that people have. Most of our old people would prefer hymns and maybe some of those old choir songs. Most of the modern people would prefer the Hillsong and the elevation worship setup of worship. I wouldn't say one is evil, one is right. Both are good, both are godly. The foundational thing for me would be, are they biblically sound? In my modern approach to music, am I still theologically and biblically correct? In my old school way of music, am I equally biblically and theologically correct? And lastly, there's also a need to, let me say, grow. When you listen to the music that were being sung during the days of Jesus, things were different because instruments were different. Styles of music were different. In the 70s, things changed. That's when the drums and the guitars started really being introduced in our churches. And slowly, music evolved. And so I would say it's not evil to be part of the evolution that music has. The key thing to note is, do I maintain the godly aspect even in my music. And by music, I'm not just referring to the sound that the band is playing, but even the lyrics and the words of the songs we are singing. If we can balance those two, then I assure you, whether it's traditional, whether it's modern, both will be equally lively and captivating, without leaving out the youth nor making the elderly feel like we need our own service and let the youth have their own service. We will coexist, because what we are both looking for is that godly, encouraging sound, whether it's in form of a hymn, whether in form of a contemporary music. And by the way, sorry if I'm deviating from this, but if you look at the trajectory music has taken, you'd realize what we are referring to as traditional is actually not different from the modern. The patterns, the progressions are still the same. It's just that there's a slightly different touch to the song and the words that are being used today. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much. I don't know, Phil, if you have anything to add on that.
Yeah, I don't think I have much to add. I think Pasi has said most of that. But again, I will just say, for me, it's more of a balance.
Yeah.
We can't do away with the tradition. Again, if you remember the Bible, when God was talking to the Israelites, he was telling them about the commandments. Teach them to your children. Write them. The continuity. So for me, tradition, it's a reference point. The roots. Ushasikia? Back to the roots. Yeah, so kama nyinyi ni
Na si
wasee wa
reggae.
hymns, na si reggae, yeah. But like the source, where this thing came from, because when you go back to the source, again, the meaning, you drive the importance, the meaning. And so the tradition gives us the root, where we are coming from, the depth, how it was introduced again, and then the continuity, you are able to pass it. Like you've received it, you pass it. And then when we come to the modern now, remember we have technology. Again, different, okay, let's say for the tradition, maybe you learned it in one tribe. But now in the modern world, you've learned English, you've learned Spanish, you've learned Swahili, French, okay? So again, the modern part brings the cultural balance, okay? And then there is accessibility, technology that was not back there. So someone can be in Turkana and we are in Nairobi offering a gathering of worship, and they want to access the experience. You see? So the modern way of doing it, again, they're able to tap into that experience. Yeah, that is what I say.
Thank you. And even as you wind up, before I ask Betty, Phil, if you were given an opportunity to choose whether you attend the Y Church, which is the youth church, or you join the elderly people in a mixed kind of setup and worship together, would you rather go to the Y Church or remain and worship together with the elderly people?
Oh, I think there's a big conflict. But again, I think if I was to choose,
Yes.
just like you said, I choose. Again, I think I'll have to go to like the genuine authenticity,
Okay.
where I feel this one is more like we are being authentic in this environment. So if it's the elderly that are giving the authentic meaning and the experience of worship, I'd rather be there. But if it's the young people giving the authentic, again, I'd rather be there. But for now, I feel both sides giving both the authenticity.
I get it. I know it's such a
conflicting
yeah,
state.
it's so conflicting.
Yeah.
But Betty, do you feel that our youth group here at Living Word AGC has played any role in your life to become a better worshipper, or rather grow when it comes to worship as you wind up?
Okay, thank you. Actually, being part of the youth here has helped me grow spiritually, fellowshipping together, because you find that after the service we have the Bible study, and in that we get to worship together, we get to fellowship together, learn learn from each other the different interpretation of the Bible. And also when we have fellowship together, we get to grow spiritually. And in that way, I've found myself having that inner desire to surrender more to God, be part of the Bible study, be part of the worship. So I would say it has really helped me grow a lot.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I think it has really been an enlightening moment, just to get to hear from all of you and the different views that you have concerning worship and how we can become better worshipers in the church. Thank you so much. Over to you, Percy.
Thank you, thank you. And I know we have only scratched the surface, because some of these conversations we're feeling like we should spend more time and just explore, and maybe to challenge my fellow youth. What really attracts you to church? Is it being a genuine worshiper, or is it just the hype? Labda crash, ama labda potea ko somewhere. What really attracts you to church? And two, are we among those who are just going in there for a good time? Or are we among those who are genuinely seeking God? My prayer is we continue having this conversation and figuring out, am I living as a worshiper, or am I nafuata upepo? Concert iko wapi leo? That's where I'll be found that Sunday. Moji ameenda wapi leo? That's where I'll be headed next Sunday. Am I that kind of a Christian, or wherever I am at, as Phil said, in the car, in the office, at home, or in a gathering like we have on Sundays? Do I truly worship? And as we've mentioned, is it the music? Is it the noise? Is it the emotion? Or are you hoping to go deeper? That will be my challenge. I pray that our living as worshipers will be going deeper. If you have not understood what being a worshiper means, I encourage you to go back. We have a few other conversations we have done on the podcast. Please go back and check on the other conversations we have had. We have tried to lay the foundation of who a worshiper is, so that you do not confuse someone who's just come to church on a Sunday and someone who's genuinely worshiping God. God bless you. We'll continue the conversations next time. Until then, peace be with you. Amen. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Mungu awabariki sana.